Welcome to the Redland District Angling Association Fisheries feedback video. This is where we highlight some of the fishing opportunities available to Redland District members. We'll be hearing from Del on the work of our fisheries team. We'll be, as ever, covering a roundup of the notable fish caught during the month. We've got some lovely barbel to show you and all sorts of other species as well. Some really good pictures. Jim's going to give us his thoughts on fishing tips, or fishing opportunities rather, for the coming month of September. And on fishing hints and tips, I'm going to be focusing on some of the methods you can use to successfully target big crucians. And of course, we've got the opportunity to fish for actually British record crucians on the new exchange tickets that we've got in place with Godalming Angling Society. So I hope you find it entertaining. And I'm now going to move straight into asking Del what him and the fishery management team have been up to. So over to you, Del.
Well, Martin, we've been doing a few bits and pieces on the roach project. We were having a bit of an autumn sort of clear out, getting ready for the winter. Bit of hoovering, that sort of stuff going on, just clearing the tanks out, moving a few fish out and sort of separating some of the bigger fish from the smaller fish, because the bigger fish have a terrible tendency to eat the smaller fish. So to maximise our sort of the fish that we bring on, then we grade them every now and again just to separate them up and protect the small ones really. We've also been doing a bit of work on the pathways on Engerfield Lagoon and a little bit on Farnham Flint, sorry. We've been trying to do it for about 6 weeks, but damn weather, every time we've got the machines and what have you in place, then it's decided to rain and it just turns into a mess. So, you know, with the weather being as it has been for the last sort of couple of weeks, everything's fairly dry, so it gives us a good opportunity to get that done. So we'll have that done in a couple of days or so. So hopefully then we won't be getting the complaints of people getting their white trainers dirty when they go fishing. We've also been doing a few bits and pieces on lower benions. We've had a couple of problem trees. Those that fish the rivers and fish up at lower benions, they'll know that we had a big bank collapse. I think it was just after the COVID outbreak, and we had to get down there a bit sharpish and get a load of hardcore and various other bits and pieces in and repair the bank. Some of the reason, not all the reason, but some of the reason why that bank collapsed was there was a tree on the opposite bank that had come down, another one had come on top of it, and it was pushing the flow against the bank. Lower benions, it's not common knowledge, but there's no fishing on the other bank, and it's not ours, it's a different landowner, and they've had a few internal problems with managers and estate managers and what have you, and trying to communicate with them was an absolute nightmare. But finally we nailed them down, and we got some guys down there, but we're doing some work down there anyway, and we sort of just give them a hand for a morning, and we got some of the problem trees out. There's a few more to do down there. We'll have to pick our times and whatever, because it's a bit sensitive at the moment. You can't just go on somebody else's land and start chopping their trees down as much as we'd like to, so it's a bit sensitive, but bear with us, and you know, we'll get them tidied up. Other than that, it's just been maintaining the status quo, as I've said for the last couple of months now. You know, this time of the year, it's just all about going around, just titivating around, you know, cutting some grass and the odd tree and things like that. And over the next month, we'll be sort of looking towards our winter projects. We try and do a couple of winter projects a year. So we'll be looking towards those and starting to plan things and make life easier come the winter. That's it.
And now the August Notable Fish Gallery.
onto the pitch competition, and as we've always said right from the outset, this isn't a big fish competition. This is a nice photo competition, and by nice photo, we're not looking at scenery and that. We're looking at the look on people's faces. That's we want the photographs to encompass everything that makes us want to go fishing. So there's one standout this month. Young Master Kerry with his tench from Moatlands. I mean, when you see the photograph, you'll understand. The beam on his face is incredible. However, again, there's been some cracking photos, and we've got barbel from hand-sized 11-ounce fish right the way up to John Harrison's 18 pounds. Huge fish. That's a big fish countrywide, let alone from the Kennet. So doff their cap to John. He's worked hard to get that. We've also seen a couple of pike, but I mean it's primarily barbel, and there's some cracking barbel to be had out of the Kennet, despite what all the naysayers will tell you that there's no fish in the Kennet and this, that and the other. There are fish. You've just got to look for them. You've just got to work for them a little bit harder. Anyway, that's enough of that. So yeah, Master Kerry, you've got a cap down at Farnham Flint waiting for you, and we've also done a bit of a deal. It's not going to be this month, but it's going to be for the future months. Done a bit of a deal with Rod Hutchinson Tackle and Bait Tech, where they're going to supply us with some tackle bundles or bait bundles or whatever. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Whoever wins next month, it'll be your choice as to what you have. But a big thanks to Rod Hutchinson and Bait Tech for helping us out, and in turn helping you out, hopefully, to catch some more fish.
Okay, and now it's over to Jim for fishing prospects for the month of September. Jim, what are you thinking?
Right, so we're coming into the month of September now, and essentially this is sort of big fish month at the moment. The sort of species you want to be trying to target is probably the chub, perch and the barbel. Obviously with John Harrison's barbel this month, I'm sure that's not going to be the only big Kennet barbel to come out, and also the Thames as well. In terms of chub, you want to be looking at some of maybe our underfished venues as such. So Calcut, for instance, never rarely see guys up there, but I know last year there was a few guys having some good bags of chub up there, late in the evening and things like that. And also Ufton for the perch as well. The last couple of seasons, the perch fishing down Ufton has been absolutely phenomenal. So get yourselves out there and have a nice September fish.
Right, Dale, well, thanks for not giving me the notable fish prize for that nice Crucian.
Not a problem, mate. You can't have insider trading.
No, I absolutely agree. We've had quite a few inquiries, as you know, about how to catch particularly the bigger Crucians, and so I thought it might be useful just to go through some of the rigs. There's basically two ways. If you're going to go down a marsh farm, and then hopefully when they get bigger here, use the same tactics on some of our redding waters as we develop them for Crucian carp. But it's basically very sensitive pole tackle, and you can use this on a long rod, or on 3 or 4 sections of pole to be fishing close in, or the method feeder. So we'll cover both. So first of all, pole floats. Something quite light, 0.4 of a gram, probably maximum. You're looking to fish very close in. Shoshing pattern's fairly basic. A little group of number 8s as a bulk, and then I use a number 10 stot just on the hook link. And the crucial thing with Crucians, we all know they're very, very sensitive at biting fish, particularly on a float. And so you need to set your tackle so you're just fishing dead depth or perhaps an inch over. Because the way the Crucian feeds, it doesn't run and tear off with the fish tail. It tilts like that, as you know, and lifts up again.
Fairly static.
Absolutely. So the bites are often just little lifts or little knocks and the rest of it. And that's really why I like to concentrate on a pole float. It's very delicate. You're fishing very close in, and it obviously registers the bites. But it is all about getting that bait at dead depths.
Why would you use a pole float as opposed to a waggler or like a pre-shotted or weighted waggler or something like that? Why particularly a pole float?
Because you can hold it steady. I mean, that's the first thing. If you've got drifts, you can hold it against the drifts. It's very precise. It's less resistance to the fish, and you've obviously got your pole tip and or either your rod tip right above the float. And I noticed the other week when I was fishing a Crucian pond, and I made the mistake of having about a metre of line between the tip of my pole and my float, and I was missing bites.
Yeah.
I cut that down to 18 inches, and I was striking straight away. And the difference between having just a short length of line and a longer length of line, and obviously it's much longer with a waggler, it's the difference between hitting.
It's literally picking up that extra line, the chance has gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they can. I mean, some of my biggest Crucians I've caught have literally gone like that, dip, dip, or move sideways. Yeah. You know, and these are bites you don't often see on a waggler. So fairly basic stuff, float fishing. Pole, yes, that's ideal, but you can do exactly the same on a 15-foot rod. And it's quite fun to use a centre pin reel as well, because you're not casting any distance. So that's basically it for pole fishing. Moving on to feeder fishing, and I'll come on to baits in a minute. I really rate the little Drennan flatbed method feeders. You can buy the mould. I use either the 25 gram or the 15 gram, depending on how far out you go. Fill it with pellets. I use 2 mil pellets. Ordinary carp pellets will do, but if they're a bit sweet, that's even better. The important thing to remember with soaking your pellets is a minute for every mil. So if it's 2 mil, soak them for 2 minutes.
Is that hot water you put in there, or is it just ordinary cold water?
No, just cold water, leave it for 2 minutes, and then drain the water off, and they're ready to use in about 20 minutes. So the first thing I do when I arrive at the lake is soak the pellets and get them ready. And then really it's just a question of pumping your feeder in there. You get a nice ball of dampened pellets stuck to the feeder. And then the important thing with all method feeding, and the nice people at Guru have made it very easy for us, are these pre-tied hooks. And these are just little bands tied, I don't know if you can see them there, little bands just hair rigged on a 4-inch hook link to a 16, 18 or a 14 hook. These QM1 hooks are particularly good. In fact, that isn't a QM1 hook, but whatever. And then you put in the band either one of these little dumbbells. They're very useful. Particularly, I found down at on the Godalming waters a lot of small rudd around. So these little hard yellow pellets work very well. Sometimes a couple of rubber casters, that can be a good bait. A little bit of artificial corn or natural corn. And it's all about the feeding pattern. I mean, these fish are coming in and a totally different bite, Del, from Crucians on a method feeder. They literally are in there, they pick it up, they turn, the hook goes home, and the quiver tip just pulls round.
So it's almost like a bolt rig effect.
It is effectively a bolt rig effect. Very, 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 very useful. One other little tip, buy yourself one of these, Preston make them, other companies make them, one of these little band expanders. So if you're putting one of these small bands on the hook, this opens the band up for you, you can pop your bait in and pull it out again, and you're ready to go. Really, really simple. In terms of the ground bait mix, because I don't always use pellets all the time, sometimes I put a bit of ground bait out first. Again, it's a sweet ground bait. I notice we've got Bait Tech sponsoring us. The mix I found very effective has been this Special G green ground bait. You can actually make this into a paste as well, if you wanted to fish paste for them. And then I usually mix it 50-50 with the F1 sweet green ground bait. So it's a sweet fish meal, really. Yeah, yeah. It's very fine. I usually riddle it, and quite often I'll fish half pellets in the mould and half ground bait on top of it. Yeah. So it's a sweet fish meal, really. I'm sure other patterns work just as well, but I found that this is, this has worked really, really fine for me.
Do you have to leave that ground bait for any time, like sort of a lot with a breadcrumb based ground baits? You sort of have to leave them for 10 minutes or so just to soak up, or does that looks very fine? So I'm assuming it's almost instant.
Well, it is probably best to leave it 10 minutes or so, and I normally mix it up. When I arrive at the lake, I soak my pellets, I mix up my ground bait, and I'll probably leave it 10 minutes or so, and then I push it through a riddle so it's nice and fine, and then I've got all I need. But fishing for Crucians is really subtle. It isn't about a lot of bait, it's really about getting the right bait. And if you wanted to prepare to swim, I mean, if you're fishing down at Marsh Farm on the feeder, you're often casting across to the island, or if you're fishing the big lake, where I had that 3.5 pound one, it's a shallow lake, Johnson's, you've got to go out about 30 yards to find a little bit of depth of water. What a lot of guys do is they spawn bait out there. I found that hopeless. In a shallow water like that, where it's only a metre or so deep, all you do is attract the ducks, and I think you actually frighten the fish. So what I prefer to do is I actually just get an ordinary cage feeder, I've got my ground bait mix, I've got a few casters, I've got a few pellets. I'd probably put 6 payloads of that out, clip it up, and then take this off, put the method feeder on. I've got my spot, it's all sorted out, and then after that I probably don't put any more ground bait in other than that goes in this. And you know, you've got to be patient, but there are some fantastic fish to be caught on both of those lakes. So that's what I would recommend. Inside float fishing, as subtle as you can. Baits, sweet corn, these little hooker pellets are quite good. These have a look at these. These are sweet. Have a smell of those. Banoffee.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd eat one of them.
Yeah, well, the Crucian certainly do. These work. Casters, obviously, very, very good bait. Corn. I think if you just went for a hookable pellet, casters and corn, you've probably got all you need for your float fishing. And I say, concentrate on the dampened pellets on the feeder, and then a variety of hook baits. And that's all it is. So, I mean, you know, get down there would be my advice, and you never know, you might catch a record Crucian. It'd be rather good, wouldn't it, to get a record Crucian out on a Redden District exchange ticket?
Yeah, and then hopefully in a few years' time out of it, even better.
Well, I was delighted to see in the photo competition Leo Davey. He did a lovely picture of those hand-sized Crucians.
Yeah. I mean, when we stocked them, when did we stock them now? Probably a year ago. Would it be? Yeah, it was just not long after you started. I think it's coming up a year we stocked them, and there was some fish in there that were a good sort of 8 to 12 ounces. So it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if you've got Crucians in there of a pound. So it's well worth giving it a go, but certainly to get up to the sort of sizes that got them in a got, it's going to be a couple of years yet.
I reckon. Anyway, well, you hope that's useful, and yeah, enjoy yourself. Go and catch some Crucians. They're a beautiful fish. They're not the hardest fighting fish in the world, but they're subtle, and frankly, if you can master catching Crucians, you can probably catch any cruise fish, can't you?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Okay, that's it from us, from the banks of the lovely Callows Pool, a developing new Reading and District fishery. I hope you've enjoyed this month's edition. Please keep those photos coming in. Email them to promo@rdaa@gmail.com, or we'll just pitch them off the Facebook page. Have a great time, and tight lines, everyone.